Amazon. Morning.
Good morning. Journalist Mal Russell Good was born on this day in 1908. He became the first African-American network news correspondent and covered many significant events, including the Cuban Missile Crisis, as well as the assassination of one of his fraternity brothers, Martin Luther King Jr. Good was a trailblazing journalist who paved the way forward for future generations.
Right on. Okay, Amazon. Flash briefing.
Jamie, here's the latest from your flash briefing. In NPR News.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Corva Coleman. The U.S. Air Force has now shot down 3 unidentified objects in 3 days over North America.
And one of
The
them
most
was
recent came
eight-sided.
yesterday when an object was
Eight-sided
shot
flying
down
object.
into Lake Huron off Michigan. NPR's Greg Myrie says more objects are being detected by the U.S. military because they're actively looking for them.
UFO?
The Air Force is saying it has recalibrated its radar systems, or speed gates as they're called, which were geared to look more
That's
for
true.
things like incoming missiles.
There's supposed to
And
be a
the
big
US
announcement
made this
this week
adjustment
in the
after
news
the encounter with,
at what they're
with
shooting
China's spy
and
balloon.
stuff.
The Chinese spy balloon was
Maybe
shot
they'll
down
tell us it's
earlier this
UFOs.
month off South Carolina. The Chinese Foreign Ministry is now claiming the U.S. has sent its own spy balloons into Chinese airspace. It claims as many as 10 American balloons were detected last year. The White House National Security Council has sharply denied this, saying China's claims are simply untrue. The death toll from the earthquakes in Turkey and Syria has now exceeded 35,000 people. Rescuers say that after a week of the calamity, it is increasingly unlikely they'll find many more survivors under the rubble. The College Board is hitting back at top officials in Florida over the state's cancellation of a new advanced placement African American Studies course. As NPR's Joe Hernandez reports, Florida officials have criticized the College Board.
The Florida Department of Education announced in January that it was rejecting the new AP African American Studies course. State officials said it was too political. The College Board changed the curriculum, and Florida officials praised the decision, while the College Board was slammed for bowing to political pressure. But now, in a new statement, the College Board is defending its actions. The National Education nonprofit says changes to the curriculum were made by experts and were not a result of political influence from Florida. The College Board also said that despite criticizing the course publicly, Florida officials didn't actually provide any suggestions about how to change it. Joe Hernandez, NPR News.
Stocks opened higher this morning as investors wait for new inflation numbers out this week. NPR's Scott Horsley reports the Dow Jones Industrial is up 170 points.
The Labor Department is set to report tomorrow on consumer prices for the month of January. Annual inflation is expected to slow for the 7th month in a row, but forecasters think price hikes likely picked up a bit between December and January. Inflation in the Eurozone is also cooling, although European prices are still climbing faster than those here in the U.S. The EU's Executive Commission has raised its forecast for economic growth this year. It's still sluggish, 0.8%. Candy maker Mars Wrigley's been fined more than $14,000 over a workplace accident last summer at a Pennsylvania factory. 2 workers fell into a vat of chocolate.
What?
Emergency crews had to cut a hole in the chocolate tank to free the
Were they
workers.
playing Willy Wonka
Scott
Chocolate
Horsley,
Factory?
Washington.
You're listening to NPR.
2 workers fell into
The
a vat
National
of
Weather
chocolate.
Service
Were they
says
wrestling
a
first?
multi-hazard winter storm will plow into the
weird.
Central Plains by tomorrow.
I understand if one accidentally fell in and got pushed, whatever, but 2?
The world's oldest
Oh, help me,
leader,
I'm falling.
Cameroon's
Hey, let me
President
grab you.
Paul
Oh,
Biya,
no, we're
turns
both in.
90 today.
How
Biya
does that
has
work?
been president for 40 years. His leadership has featured the brutal repression of Cameroonian critics. Along with birthday celebrations, NPR's Emmanuel Akinwotu reports
You know what would be
that they
nice-
are also
nice right now?
reflecting on this
We jumped in
controversial
that vat of
legacy.
chocolate.
Celebrations for President Paul Biya's 90th birthday are being held in the capital Yaoundé. While the president retains significant support and goodwill, many others see his rule as a vice-like grip holding the country back. Biya has been the only president most people have ever known, in a country where the median age is just 19. Dissent has been brutally repressed, with attacks
Okay, I
on
don't like
journalists
these.
on
I
the
like the
rise,
bags better.
leaving many too afraid to be openly
Same
critical
stuff,
of him.
but
He spent much of his later years abroad,
it's
often
only
in
that
Paris,
full.
and there's been widespread speculation about his ill health and
like it.
memory. These landmark celebrations underscore how long he has dominated politics.
Like a
Emmanuel
potato, though.
Akinwotu, NPR News, Lagos.
Cambodia's prime minister is forcing one of the country's few independent media outlets to shut down. Prime Minister Hun Sen claims that the organization, the Voice of Democracy, attacked him and his son and hurt Cambodia. The media outlet had published a story suggesting the Prime Minister's son exceeded his authority by signing an agreement to give earthquake aid to Turkey. I'm Corva Coleman, NPR News in Washington.
What's happening on NPR Podcasts? More neighborhoods.
Amazon.
Identities.
Skip.
Clean weather.
Skip to the loo. Skip.
Right now in Seattle,
Skip to the
it's
loo.
42 degrees Fahrenheit with cloudy
Skip
skies.
to the loo.
Today's forecast has showers,
Darn.
with a high of 46 degrees and a low of 34 degrees. From NASA. NASA has awarded Blue Origin, LLC of Kent, Washington, a task order to provide launch service for the agency's Escape and Plasma Acceleration and Dynamics Explorer, ESCAPADE, mission as part of the agency's venture
Yes, quite
class
the
acquisition of
Escapade.
dedicated and rideshare, VADR, launch services
Right, share
contract.
launch services. Yeah, y'all want to share a rocket?
NASA is now seeking procurement ideas and solutions
the
to
launch
encourage
site.
innovation from diverse perspectives, improve reach, reduce barriers, and ultimately meet and exceed agency goals.
What's our goal?
NASA has selected
nuclear
Navarro
defense.
Research and Engineering
Yeah.
Incorporated of Oak Ridge, Tennessee, for the Environmental Compliance and Operations 3 ECO 3 contract, which provides environmental restoration program services and other support at the agency's White Sands Test Facility in Las Cruces,
Like
New Mexico.
National Defense Support contract.
NASA has selected Autonomic Integra of Gaithersburg, Maryland, for specialized scientific support services to the Goddard Institute for Space Studies, GISS, in New York. NASA has awarded the Simulation and Software Technology 3 contract to Casey Federal of Chantilly, Virginia, to provide simulation and software technology support and related services for the agency's Johnson Space Center in Houston. That's all for your flash briefing.
Well, I do feel briefly flashed. I don't know about the rest of it. Okay, Amazon, tell us a joke.
I have this running joke, and I can never catch it.
Well, it's not very funny. I'm saying. I got this running joke and I can never catch it. Yeah, that's not very funny. Alright, Amazon, tell us a joke.
Why don't werewolves ever know the time? Because they're not wenwolves.
Oh, well. A werewolf is not a wimwolf. Okay. Have a great day, everybody. Stay beautiful.